Hey, Christian caregiver. Welcome to Dementia Caregiver Support for Christians, the podcast where I teach Bible-believing Christians how to make dementia care easier today while also helping you focus on a brighter tomorrow. This is a very special episode of Ask the Dementia Coach. In these Ask the Dementia Coach sessions, which are open to the public, so you can sign up and register for them at any time. I do them once a month where I bring people from our audience, just like you, onto the podcast to ask me specific questions of things that they are struggling with, because I know and recognize that if they are struggling with these kinds of issues, then possibly you are as well. So for today's episode, we had 3 people come and ask me questions, and we had a wonderful time dialoguing and talking with one another. The next Ask the Dementia Coach session, monthly meetup, will be December the 19th at 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can sign up via the website or through the link in the show notes for our next month's Ask the Dementia Coach. So go ahead and listen to other people just like you asking me questions. Well, hello, ladies. How are you ladies today? Well, hello, Miss Lisa.
How are you?
I am better than I deserve. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Wonderful. Janelle, I'm so happy that you were able to make it. She had sent an email earlier saying that she might not be able to make it tonight, so I'm excited. So I'm very excited to meet you, Lisa. Can you tell me a little bit more about who you support and help?
Well, my support is sort of indirect. My husband's mother has moderate dementia, and we live in North Carolina. She is in Florida. She's being cared for by our niece primarily. And so we provide support by getting caregivers there to support her, trying to help her structure things. We actually just came back from a trip to Florida. We go down there periodically just to, visit and assess and sort of see where things are. And I think we've just been trying to figure out sort of where we are so that we know that we have the appropriate level of support.
Okay.
And every time I go down there, I just have more questions than answers. So when I found your podcast, I was very happy. I listened to a couple of the podcasts, and then I was able to sign up for this session and the one on Saturday. So I'm very excited about it.
Cool. Well, the next one, the Saturday one, is like not this Saturday, that it's the week after.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you said that. For some reason in my head, it was this Saturday, but it's on my calendar. So
okay. Well, wonderful. And Janelle, I am so happy that you were able to make it. I thought you were going to go and watch some sort of a grandchild or something. I read the email, but I've slept since then. Not really, but
Yeah, I never thought about the time difference. So I'm in Central Time. So it's only 5 now. So the program is later. So I'm able to make it for a while.
Wonderful. I'm super glad that you're here. So tell us a little bit who you support.
I support my mom. My dad died 2 years ago, a little over. And we didn't realize how bad the dementia was until after he passed.
Okay.
She was living alone in, I think it was March or April. We asked her to stop driving. She would end up someplace and not know where she was and not know how to get home. And that happened quite a few times. And then finally we asked her not to drive anymore. And then quickly after that, she was lonely being in the house by herself. And so we asked her to move in with us, and she eventually agreed and moved in June. So
okay, wonderful. And Helen, I know Miss Helen. Helen's been here before. Helen, I'm excited to see you, young lady. How are you?
Oh, fine. It's good to see you.
It's good seeing you too. And Miss Kate, can you tell us who you support if you want to ask a question, or you can just hang out? I'm super fluid. You can ask Helen. I fly by the seat of my pants. But if you have a question or if you want to share, I would love to hear your story. But she says she's just listening in. You are welcome to just listen in. If you have a question, you can put it in the chat and I can answer it that way too. Like I said, part of this is truly, truly just to give back. So I'm going to start with Lisa. Lisa, who said that she is trying to figure some stuff out. So, or she comes back with more questions than she goes. So let me hear some of your questions.
One of the questions that I actually sent to you in email was just about, we have several different caregivers that we have through agencies. Probably to cover the week, we probably have 3 different caretakers. And for the most part, they're not really able to do much except sort of sit there and chat with her, because whenever they get up to do something, she resists and she's like, "What are you doing? I wash my own clothes. I cook my own food. I don't need you to do anything." So it would be helpful if they could do more. But again, it seems she just puts up a lot of resistance to it. So we aren't really able to get them to do much. And so we've just told them, just so that there's no conflict or anything, just sit there
Mm-hmm.
and visit with her. So that's, which that's valuable, but it would be more valuable if we were able to get them to do some light housekeeping or,
Sure.
things like that, and meal prep stuff. So I'm just trying to figure out ways to get her or get around that resistance that she.
Okay. So to set the stage a little bit better, is she living in her home with your niece?
She is.
Okay.
She is.
So it's her own home and your niece is living there and your niece is at work, and then you have
Yeah.
the caregivers from the agency coming in.
Exactly.
Now, to help me understand a little bit better, there are typically what I call 3 buckets of levels that people have. And so I'm going to give you some descriptors and then you kind of tell me where she is. Okay.
Sure.
The first bucket is the person is still doing all of their self-care. They can take their shower, they can do all of those basic things for themselves, but they're starting to maybe skip a step here or there, but the quality is still pretty good. So if she were, taking her shower and she came out and going into the community, people wouldn't necessarily just look at her and say, "Oh, something's wrong." The middle bucket, the person is starting to now lose the quality. They're really skipping steps. They're forgetting, "Oh, I did take a shower, but it was 5 days ago," right? If you were to leave them on their own, they start to look like they're not taking care of themselves. Back of the hair, clothes are reworn and dirty because they cannot see these discriminating things. So they physically can do things, but they need the reminding, they need the step-by-step sequencing. That's kind of in the middle. And then the last one is where the person is needing somebody to actually physically help do the activities for them. Which one of the 3 buckets is she in?
She's definitely not the last one. I think she's more heading toward the middle. She is very resistant around self-care in terms of, it's challenging to get her to shower. She says she takes a wipe off and that's sufficient. She says she can take care of it herself, but sometimes it's like, okay, no, you need more. But again, there's just a lot of resistance. She can take care, she can dress herself. She go to the restroom of her own, she can eat on her own and everything. But again, it's sort of like, we think she's skipping steps and it's resisting.
Okay.
She's resisting the help that we could
So
give.
sort of really in this middle bucket. So the quality is starting to go away. So a couple of things to consider when you're observing the people who are helping her, or when you're working with her, when you guys go down, or when your niece is with her, is we really need to make sure that we try to maintain the relationship first, right? And the tasks second. And this is a relatively new realization for me because I come from a occupational therapy background where it's like we're really needing to try to get people to do things. And what I've noticed as I've switched and started working in this capacity is that if we break that relationship, then the tasks are even harder to do. So that's the first part of it. And then the second part of it is we have to be very aware of the words that we are using and whether we are asking questions related to the things like, for example, do you want to? Do you want to go do the laundry? Do you want to go take a shower? Do you want to do XYZ? Because when we use the words, when we choose to use the words, do you want to? Because we're trying to give the adult opportunity to choose, they can say no. And then all of a sudden I'm in trouble because I really need you to. And now you told me no, and now I cannot make you. So some good strategies or tips are to try to have the formal care partner, say something to her like, well, why don't you come with me to the kitchen? And then when we're in the kitchen, oh, let's get started on dinner. Here, you do this and I do this, and have her work with her, not take things away from her, but work parallel to her. So the person is the quality control and mom is helping do the task, but the other person is there to supplement. The same thing kind of with laundry. Oh, it's time for us to go get the laundry out of the dryer. Let's go fold them and then do it together. It may work. It may not work. It's challenging when it's in someone's house where she's always lived, but there's some things that your niece can maybe try to set them up for success by, for example, starting a load of laundry before she leaves to go to work, and then having your mother-in-law and the care partner who's there do it because it's the right time for the task. Did that make sense? Was that helpful?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think even if my niece sort of, before she leaves, sort of lays out, these are the things that, Granny, that I need you to do. And
Yeah.
and
Oh,
she
Granny,
could help.
I'm exhausted when I come home from work. It would help me so much if you could do, and then maybe list 3 things, and then have the care partner and her do it together and have her cross it out. A lot of these kinds of strategies are trial and error. To kind of, fun thing is the moment we figure out what works, it usually works for a while. And it's wonderful and great. The socialization is wonderful and great, but there are other things that they could also perhaps do with her. If she really won't let them do any of the housekeeping types of activities, then perhaps we can have them do some thinking activities with her where we're having them facilitate some like games or puzzles or some things that they can do together that are special for her, so there's a lot that can be done, but it really is just trying to really stop and be very aware whether they're asking her to do something and she says no, as opposed to it's a suggestion, let's do it together. I call it creating an illusion of choice, right? Do you want to do this now or do you want to do it after breakfast? 2 choices, 2 limited choices. We need to do the laundry today. Do we want to do it now or do we want to do it at 11? Do you want to wear this shirt or this shirt? 2 choices, not unlimited choices.
Okay, yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, Miss Janelle, let me hear what I can help you with today, young lady. Although her camera looks like it froze for a second. You can keep the camera off. Sometimes if your bandwidth isn't good, it'll help and we can hear you better. I can't quite tell if she's there or not. We'll give it a second. There she is. Well, hello, young lady.
Sorry, I'm having trouble with my connection.
It's okay. Sometimes if you keep the camera off, we can hear you. It's more important to hear you than to see you.
Okay, I'll see if I can do that. You don't use Zoom enough to know.
There should be a little icon that just says camera. Whoops, I just switched mine off. That was good.
Okay.
I can do the microphone. I know how to make people see the microphone, but I can never remember on the phone either. I always use Zoom on the computer mostly. Otherwise, you can just leave it at, yeah, there you go.
Okay.
All right. Perfect.
Figure out which one of these buttons to do.
It's perfect. So Janelle, tell me what kind of question you might have or what opportunity we can help you with today.
So I'm blessed to have a job where I work from home. I care for a handicapped young man who lives with us as well. And my mom loves him. He's been with us for 30 years. So that part's great. I've noticed that my mom is very clingy to me. She's very, like this morning, I went to take a bath and my husband said while I was gone, she was pacing and very upset and was talking about leaving. Of course, then later, we had Bible study. Her friend came over and then another friend asked her to go for lunch and she had a great day. But I'm just those times when I do have to be gone, she's very clingy. And then she does not. So my sister's off work right now for a short time. she has some surgery, and my sister would like her to come and be over there with her more, but that's also an issue. She'll be there for a short time, then she'll want to come right back.
Mm-hmm.
So I
So
don't.
a quick question about your sister. When you say there, is that in the same geographic area as you, or is it somewhere else?
Yeah, she lives in the same town as me.
Okay. So the blessing is that you're your mom's safety blanket. She feels extremely safe when she knows where you are and when she can see you.
Okay.
That's why she is nervous or anxious when she cannot see you. You're her person. She feels very safe with you, which is a tremendous blessing. But at the same time, it's kind of like, when your kids are little and you can't get away to go potty, right? So it can feel very smothering when you're the person on the receiving side. So a couple of thoughts or a couple of suggestions are to see if there are ways that you can structure the time around when you need to do some of these things, when there is a normal segue for her to be doing another activity or another task. Like, for example, and I know it messes up everybody's routine a little bit, but either maybe get ready before she gets up, so you're ready for the day and she doesn't perceive you to be leaving her, or when she is naturally engaged in another activity that will keep her engaged, so you can have some time to yourself and on your own. Related to your sister, I think it's very valuable to you as her primary care person to utilize your sister as much as you can, because if you don't create space, not you, but a person, right? If we don't create space for you to have some time, it is very hard to do it over the long haul. A couple of thoughts related to what happens when she's with your sister. Does she just start to ask to go home, or can you explain a little bit about what's actually happening at that time?
Saying she wished she'd never come here. And after she did come in here, after she moved here, she very quickly said that she wanted to sell her house.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure why. I wanted her to hang on to it. I thought one of my daughters could rent it from her and then it wouldn't be gone. But she just insisted, I just want to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that. But yeah, she just pretty much says, I wish I'd not come. And she's told me in the past when she's been mad, she's like, I want to go live in a nursing home. But then we took her for a visit to a place that sent us an invitation. And she's like, I don't know why I'm here. Ask them. My sister and I went. So she doesn't remember saying it. So I think she was just mad for whatever reason at the time.
Sure. You had broken up right at the beginning. So what I understood out of the rest of what you said was that when your mom came to live with you, that you guys sold her house with her permission at that time, but now she's remembering that she used to have this house and wants to go back home. Am I correct?
She doesn't want to go home. She does remember that the house is gone. She
Okay.
does remember that. She is saying, why did I ever come here?
And what do you say to her when she says that?
I really don't know what to say to her.
Okay.
And actually, she didn't say it to me. She said it to my husband this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And when she told me that she wanted to go to a nursing home, I'm like, okay, Mom, we can look into that. It takes a little bit of time. You can't just get right in, but we can go look around. I'll make some appointments. And then we did make the one appointment. I went and toured one, but she didn't remember that she had said that. So,
But your intent is to try to keep her with you?
yes, we would. I don't think she'd be happy there. So we would like her to stay here as long as possible, but
Okay. So a lot of times, and it's hard when you're not in the situation itself for me to always come up with the right words. But a lot of times, what we need to try to get to is the emotion underneath what they're saying. You go for the emotion behind what she's saying. So it could be something like, well, I don't know why I should never have come here. The response could be something to the effect of, it seems to me like you might be a little frustrated. What can I do to make it easier? Or, if the person is looking sad. It seems like you might be sad. Tell me more about it. Try to get her to talk more about what's going on in her head, and then try to connect with the emotions behind what she's saying. Because it could be just, she's just gotten in a loop somewhere, or she's really still grieving the loss of her independence and the way her life used to be. But if we can connect with where she is emotionally, it can go a long way in decreasing whatever that emotion is, whether it's, fear, or, she shadows, maybe she's a little anxious when she can't see you, all of those kinds of things. So I would definitely try to see what the emotion is behind what it is she's saying. Like, you recognize she was angry at you one day, and so she said, I'm going to go to a nursing home, right?
Mhm.
And that's not really what she meant. I'll use myself as an example. My husband and I rarely fight, rarely. But last night we had a knockdown, drag out fight. Just one of those, just whoosh, right? And we all say things that we don't really mean when we're in that emotional state. And so people living with dementia do the same thing.
Okay.
Was that helpful, Miss Janelle?
Yes.
Wonderful. I'm so
And on what
absolutely.
in terms of she started talking about just the clinginess, and you said that's a good thing because it means that she is her person's person. My niece is definitely my mother-in-law's person. So much so that it doesn't really matter who else is there. She constantly asks for her and asks where she is. She will, sometimes go in search of her. And for my niece, understandably, she finds it just very suffocating.
Correct.
And just sometimes she just cannot, handle that. And so I'm not sure how to sort of deal with that. But I mean, on the one hand, like you said, it's a good thing because she feels she feels safe when she's around, and when she's not around, like I said, it doesn't really matter who else is there. Her niece is her person.
Right.
But sometimes what we do just to give her name's Rachel, just to give Rachel a break. She will ask for Rachel. It's like, oh, she's not here, or she went out, or she, we come up with these scenarios just so that she can have a break. And I just find all that exhausting. I mean, it's a lot,
It is. It is a lot. The more you can train yourself to always just cheerfully say it again and not build it up on the inside, it's really fascinating. If you've listened to a few of the podcasts, I support my mom and my dad, who both have cognitive impairment. So I feel it. Like, I know exactly what it is that you're talking about, because it is hard sometimes. And you just want to, you just don't want to answer it the same way. But the more I train myself to just cheerfully answer the same question over and over again, the less it bothers me. And so a couple of strategies that you can try is, if she says, now, where is Rachel? Is to turn it back on her and say, well, where do you think Rachel is? Get her to talk. Oh, I think Rachel's at work. You must be right. We need to leave her. She'll be back at 5. Where is Rachel? Oh, she went out on a date. We need to ask her what the date was like when she came back, right? So get your mom-in-law to provide one of the big things in the typical dementia caregiving economy is a strategy called therapeutic lying, which I hate. I actually had to repent of this because for years I did not really understand that I could do it differently. And I had a pastor friend challenge me, because therapeutic lying is something that everybody teaches us to do to live in their reality, but to use the therapeutic lie. What I concluded was, after speaking with this pastor friend, is that we serve a God of truth, and there is truth. There is some truth, some sort of truth that we can use. But if we get there where they think the person is or is not, then we can use that to validate what they believe. So I'm not going to flat out lie and say Rachel's at work if Rachel's out on a date, right? But I'm going to try to get your mom-in-law to try to give me as much information and then just validate that she must be right so that I'm not lying and flat out saying, oh, she's doing something else that she's not doing. But it's a very good technique for people to learn and to use, is to get the person to talk. Tell me more about that. Well, just these open-ended questions to kind of see where they're at. When the caregivers are there, if she says, well, where is Rachel? If she starts looking for Rachel, then we can maybe try to teach them. And I recognize the challenge of having paid caregivers and trying to get consistency. I understand. But to get them to try to have her tell them where she thinks they are, and then maybe trying to get them to redirect her to doing an activity with them. And so other ideas that you guys could maybe do next time you go, if you know your mom-in-law really well, what her interests were before, is to create some kits with activities in that are already pre-done, that that the care partners can then just take out and say, here, you've always enjoyed making cards. Let's make a card for Rachel to give her when she comes home. Whatever every person's different, but to just make some activity boxes that they can just take out and do with her as a task next to. I can see your brain going. Was that helpful, Miss Lisa?
Yeah, I think it was. You just, like I said, I had lots of questions, and every time you say something,
It's
it brings
okay.
up another question.
It's okay. Well, let me hear from Miss Helen real quick. And then if we have some more time, I'm happy to keep answering questions. Helen, how are you, sweet lady? How's Canada? Are you cold yet?
Yeah, it is cold here. Yes, it is. Anyways,
we just got our cold today.
oh, you did? Okay. Yeah, it's cold here. So anyways, you kind of answered some of my questions as you were talking to the other ladies, whatever, but I'm having trouble now that, when my sister says something, it doesn't make sense. And I have, just like you're talking emotions, but I can't, she's talking very low and I can't make out what she's saying, but it's kind of jibber dabber or whatever. Mm-hmm. How do you go around about that to know what she's saying or
okay.
whatever?
So I'm going to tell the ladies who are on here who may not know you just a little bit about your situation. And if I've taken you, correct me. So Helen lives up in Canada and she helps support her sister, but her sister lives with her husband, correct?
Right. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so Helen just kind of comes in and out and supports. So I don't believe you're the 24-hour person helping her, correct?
No. Yeah. That's right.
Okay.
Because her husband is.
Right. So one of the biggest changes that happens in our brain as we're navigating this is language does go away.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so that tells me, do you know what kind of dementia your sister has?
She has Alzheimer's.
She has Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And when we started, we had that first bucket, the second bucket, or the third bucket. Is she in the second or the third bucket?
I would say she's definitely in the second.
Okay. Is she starting to get to the point where your brother-in-law is having to help her get dressed and do those kinds of tasks, or is she still doing them herself?
She's able to get dressed herself, but she doesn't take a shower. Like she'll go, I don't know, 2 or 3. And I think just like you were saying, like my brother-in-law might say that, you should take a shower or something, but I don't know what he says to her, but anyways, but she doesn't
But he's not yet bathing her.
No.
Or getting her dressed. Okay, so she's in that middle bucket.
Right.
But her language is starting to go.
Yes, it has,
okay.
Yes.
All right. So when I'll use this as an example, because this is the best example I can come up with right this second. Earlier this year, I had a tremendous opportunity and blessing to have been a staff member on a dementia-supported cruise. Okay, so there's a woman who runs these cruises, and she has one staff person to every 3 humans on the cruise. So we had 9 humans living with dementia, and we were a group of, I think, like 31. And on this cruise, there was a gentleman who his language was going. Every now and then he was as clear as a bell, and every now, like, I could not understand a word he was saying at all. However, I could read his body language. So if he was upbeat, I was upbeat. And whatever he said, I just mirrored his emotion. And so she's trying to tell you something, but it's more important that she's communicating with you and that you're responding appropriately. So when he was sad, I'm like, oh, that must be so hard. And then he would, and then we had a full-on conversation. I had no idea what he said to me, but I knew exactly what he said to me because I just matched him with his emotions. And so another good example, most of us have been around children, babies, right? How do we communicate with a baby? If a baby is smiling and cooing and laughing, we're mirroring their emotions and we communicate with them in that way, even though they cannot say a word. If they're crying, we're consoling them. If they're laughing, we're laughing with them. So the best strategy, it's harder for you because you're trying to understand what it is that she's saying, but pay more attention to her nonverbal language. If she looks content when she's coming to you, even if she doesn't make any sense to you, and you just mirror that in love on her, she's going to feel heard and seen. If she comes to you and she looks upset about something and you try to, mirror that and say, well, tell me more. That must be so frustrating. She's going to feel like she was heard. Even though you may not know what it was that frustrated her or annoyed her or whatever it is, she's going to feel safe. And so I know it's very hard for us because we're wanting to figure out what it is that they're actually saying. But the reality is what our job in this relationship now becomes is to maintain that relationship and that you want her to keep coming to you and telling you stuff, even if you don't understand what it is that she's saying.
Okay.
Because she's always going to remember how you make her feel. So when not you, right? But when we then go and say, but I don't know what you're saying. I don't understand. Tell me, like the person can pick up on that and then they get frustrated. And then they're frustrated with you in this relationship because you're not understanding them. So now we go there and we just mirror her emotions. And even though you have no idea what it is that she said, she's going to feel heard.
So
Because ultimately, it's not really about what she's saying. It's that she's trying to connect with you.
Right. Okay. And just like you were saying too there, that of course her husband, my brother-in-law, is her safety because if he's gone, like I was over there a couple of weeks ago and he was just in his room, hobby room carving. He carves birds. Anyways, I don't think she knew he was out there. So we colored for the good part of the time. And then the next time she did know, when I went over again, she did know he was out there. Because when she knows that he's out there, she goes out and bothers him because she can't get anything done because he's her safety.
Right.
And just like you were saying, she'll ask me, where's Brian? That's my other-in-law's name, whatever. And, again, you're just saying that don't lie, which is
just say, well, where do you think he might be?
Yeah, I wrote that down. So
right. Or, another strategy that you could maybe try, is she pretty mobile?
Yes, she is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And I know it's winter in Canada, so you have to use your judgment. But if you can structure it that when you come, if you need to give him some respite time to help him so he can get away, maybe you can take her in the car with you just for a drive.
Right.
And he go away into a different room where he does his respite, where he has his carving, whatever. And then you come back 10, 20 minutes later, go out for a cup of coffee, whatever, come back. And then just keep her occupied. And if she says, well, where is he? Well, where do you think he might be? And then just hear
Did you
where
make
she
those
says.
then?
Say that again, Miss Janelle.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Was that helpful?
Yes, that's helpful. Yeah. Anyways, we did, again, Brian told me to put the supper in at 4:45. So I put it in because I had to go to the bathroom. And when I came out of the bathroom, she'd taken this, it was a shepherd's pie, frozen one. She'd taken it out of the oven and thinking it was already done because, she didn't know, and I said, no, it's got to go back in again. And then we finally went into the sunroom and they have a bird feeder out back. And we watched the birds. And I said, do you want to sing? So that kind of calmed her down. We sang some choruses and sang some hymns, whatever. And
Mhm.
at the end, she said, that feels good.
Good. So music is a very, very great thing. I'd like to encourage you to work on saying, let's sing. Let's sing. Let's go look at the birds. Let's do this. Let's do this together instead of do you want to.
Right. Okay.
When we
Yes.
give people the direction, do you want to, we actually are forcing them to make a decision that they may not be able to make.
Okay. So,
And so if we can train you, especially now since her language is going, to say, let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's go sing. Let's go look at the birds. She takes it out. Another great thing, and I'm not super good with this because I was a therapist for a long time and we were taught, I'm still a therapist, but I don't work as one. I don't think you can ever take it out of a person, but is to try our level best not to use the word no or to correct in that way, but to train ourselves to say yes and. So she takes it out instead of saying, no, it's not done yet. Oh, yes, look, you took it out. Just acknowledge what happened. Let's put it back in.
okay.
It's not done yet. It's instead of saying no, right?
Right. Okay.
Most people, if we're honest with ourselves, we do not like to hear the word no. Nobody likes to be told no. So the more we can say yes, and oh, it's not quite done yet. Let's put it back in.
So,
Yes, you took it out of the oven. Thank you for doing it. I don't think it's quite done yet. Let's put it back in.
yeah, that's better for
It's
sure.
just, and these are hard tweaks. I understand, I'm human. I don't always, sometimes it's say as I do, don't do as I do.
Yes.
We are human. We do make mistakes. Don't beat yourself up if you make a mistake. Just keep practicing and trying. And over time, it becomes more automatic.
Okay. Mhm.
But singing is a great thing to do.
Yeah, she likes music because even in church, when the music comes on, the organ, piano, whatever, she's got her hand going, keeping time with it.
Yeah.
So,
And what's really fascinating, what you'll notice as her words go even more, she might be able to sing very familiar things with words that she can't speak anymore.
right.
Was that helpful, Miss Helen?
Yes, it was. Yes, thank you. Yes.
Wonderful. All right, Miss Lisa, any last question? Or Miss Janelle, I muted you just in case, but you can unmute yourself again.
I guess my question, you kind of already answered it, although it wasn't, I want to make sure that I'm clear, but it has to do with, you said this whole thing about therapeutic lying, that's a thing, but it sounded like you said that even though I guess other practitioners will say, yeah, that's okay, that your comfort level is not
Yeah.
to do so, to come up with a way of speaking
Correct.
truth in a
So
way.
I'll explain the backstory behind that a little bit better. In the healthcare economy, like out in the world, if you talk to a lot of people related to dementia caregiving, and the common one is, I want to go home, or where's my mom? And the parent has passed away, or, where's my husband and he's passed away. People will say, oh, he's at work. Like he's not at work. He's gone and buried. Right. And that's a absolute flat out lie. Right. So that technique in the world is called therapeutic lying. And so when we were in a Sunday school earlier last year, end of last year, and we were talking about, I can never remember which commandment, thou shalt not lie, right? I can never remember which one. I think it's the 9th, but I could be wrong. I always have to look them up. And the pastor, our teacher who was teaching this particular class, I actually asked him this question because it works. It really works. Because the person is living where they're living and we need to go into their reality. But his answer really made me think. And his answer was, we serve a God of truth. So we need to be able to, there has to be some truth that we can use, that we can tell instead of just flat out lying. So I started calling it therapeutic truth telling. So where is mom? Mom is gone and buried. Well, where do you think mom is? Well, mom must be at work. Well, then you must be right. So all I'm doing is I'm acknowledging what she already is believing. I'm not coming up with a lie. I'm not telling a lie because I still want to I still want to validate that person's where they are, because if I tell them mom is gone, then I might have created another situation. I do have a woman in my community who actually, what works for her is that her mom remembers when her dad died, right? But she doesn't remember going to the funeral. But she can, and we talked about this at length, right? And my guidance to her was, as long as it's not upsetting your mom, like, because the conversation goes, well, where's dad? Well, mom, dad died. Well, was I at the funeral? Yes, mom, you were. But she's not upset. She's asking for information, but she's not upset, as opposed to, where's dad? Well, dad has died. And that whole emotional reliving of the same hard situation. We don't want to do that. Right. So with my other client, she's able to work through this, and they sometimes do it 20 times before her mom moves on. But she doesn't get emotional and upset about the fact that her spouse has passed away. So was that a little bit more helpful?
It was. I mean, I think it's sort of like splitting hairs, right? I mean, yeah, I like you that we sort of got into this habit. My niece and my husband just sort of telling her the things that she wants to hear so that she doesn't get upset. And some of it is just so that you don't have to deal with the drama of it, right?
Mhm.
But it's just, it's a lot of fabrications, which I'm just not very comfortable with, but I understand,
Right.
like when
So
we're there,
what kind of fabrications, though?
like for instance, when we're there, we normally stay in a hotel because there's a lot of people at the house. But for 30 years have always wanted us to stay there, but we stayed at hotels. So
Mhm.
whenever we're there, she's like, you guys are staying here tonight, aren't you? And we say, yeah. And then we say, oh, we're going to the store, and we just
Mhm.
don't come back that night. We go
Mhm.
to the hotel, and we do that every night.
Mhm.
And again, the next morning, she doesn't necessarily say, I thought you guys said you were going to stay here. Like, but it's it's a lot. But I understand if we said, no, we're at a hotel, that's going to be a whole thing.
It sounds like you've never stayed there, though, right?
20 years ago.
But it was 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Are there a lot of other people that are there?
Yeah, there's really no place that we could stay there.
Okay. And I would
But
just,
she even doesn't remember who all is there,
Mhm.
right? So she, again, it's like, yeah, she doesn't, she just doesn't seem to be, she doesn't hold the information
sure.
for long periods of time. So I think if we said, oh no, we're at the hotel again, maybe we would just have that conversation, and it would be a 2-minute conversation, and it would be over. But I think so far we've just not been willing to
So what you could
that drama.
what you could consider is saying, oh no, we have a special date night tonight on our own, and just saying, oh, we have a really special night planned for us, and play it up, and see if you don't
If
have to,
there's a way to get closer to the
if
truth.
there's a way to get closer to the truth, and not just telling, because that is actually telling her a flat out lie, right? We're not saying, so, or saying to her, or if she says, are you staying here tonight? Ask her, well, what do you think? Where do you think we're staying tonight? Oh, I think you're staying here. And then you can kind of maybe wink, wink, nudge and say, oh no, mama, we got a hot date. And make her laugh, and see if you can get closer to the truth without actually telling her a direct lie. Especially if if you're convicted that that's not right, then I would try to figure out a way that you can use humor, your relationship with your husband, asking her, where do you think we are going to be? And then if she says, well, I think you're staying here, then you can just kind of, nudge her with your elbow and wink, wink, and say, oh no, we got a hot date, mom, and then laugh. And I bet you she'll laugh and she won't touch it again. Well, Miss Lisa, Miss Helen, I hope this was helpful.
It was.
Good.
Thank you.
And you're welcome.
Go
for
ahead.
it.
So, just wondering, those emails you send me, the broadcast, whatever you call them, are they available all the time, or were you okay? They won't be taken off.
Nope.
No. Okay.
So there are a couple of ways you can listen to those podcasts, Helen. If you get the email, you can click on the link and it'll take you to the website, and then you can click on the link and listen to it there. Or if you actually listen to a podcast, do you listen to podcasts?
I have listened to one of them about, since I connected with you, like I used to be always so overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to the one on contentment.
Okay.
And I found that good.
What kind of phone do you have? Do you have an Android or?
No, I have my laptop. I don't have a cell
Okay.
phone.
Okay. So what I would do is, pull up the computer. You can just go to my website. You don't have to go anywhere else. Just go to thinkdifferentdementia.com.
Right.
And then there's a link that says podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And just click on the link and all of the podcasts are there. And then you can just click on one and watch or listen.
Yeah, I think I did that. I got a whole lot of them.
Yep.
So,
And you just choose which ones you want to listen to.
yeah, okay.
Because the podcast has morphed into something very different than where I started it.
Right.
When I started the podcast, it was really a lot more just the skills and the technique. There's still the skills and the technique, but it's a lot more Christian principles of caregiving than just the actual skills of dementia care.
Right.
It's more what we need to think, what we need to believe, because what I've recognized is, and I've known this for a long time, but the world hijacks our Christian values and beliefs and then just repackages it in a different way. But the foundation is scriptural, right? Gratitude and abundance. And we serve an abundant God, even in dementia and dementia caregiving. We serve a God of order. Dementia isn't confusing. It has order to it if you know how to look for the order. So it's very different than, I think it's very different than a lot of other podcasts.
Right. Well, as I say, you always say at the end, the feedback, and I'm not very good at giving back feedback. But anyway,
well, I'm grateful to see your smiling face. I'm very glad that you came. Miss Lisa, I do these once a month. You're welcome to come back. This is my service to give back to the community.
Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes.
You're very welcome.
See you in another week or so.
Yes, ma'am. I look forward to it.
I do too.
All right. May the Lord bless you guys.
Okay. Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.